Yeah, so with you saying that, it makes me think back to like when I was doing youth ministry for my church and they told us like the 5-person rule. I don't know if you're familiar with like when you're trying to like raise a kid or like have a teenager become a man, you want to not only have one spiritual mentor or like one like youth leader, like have to take all of that burden or responsibility, but to try to have 5 different mentors or spiritual leaders in your child's life, and that will set them up for way more success because, like you said, it's all about just pouring water in, and the more people you can have pouring that water in, whether or not they lose trust with this person or maybe they decide that they hate this person's political views, and so therefore they can't listen to anything that they're telling them spiritually or religiously. And so I thought that was very interesting to think about. And I know that one day when I become a parent, that will kind of be a goal of mine, is to try to find multiple different people to be pouring into them, not just me and their mother and their teachers and their youth pastors, but other adults in the church that they can go to. Because sometimes for kids, I think they feel more comfortable maybe going to somebody else that's not their parent, and maybe somebody if they feel like the youth pastor is like the person for everybody, but they feel like, oh, I've got this exclusive connection. You got to find that cool adult. Like there's always that cool, it's like the Uncle Jesse, like in Full House. Like you got to find the Uncle Jesse of your church and have that person pour in, as long as they're like, living a good life. Like you don't want that creeper weird guy at your church that's like, okay, let's just keep them away from our kids. But I'm curious if you could go back with the knowledge that you have now and the understanding of, maybe how youth ministry works or whatever, if you went back to be a youth pastor today, what would you do differently? What would you change?
I don't know if I would necessarily change a ton. We made it. Let me caveat that with this. We made a change about halfway through the last church I was at doing youth ministry, where when we first got there, it was very much kind of using what I had received. And then, again, no shade to the university that I went to, because I'm sure they tried to teach me this. I just didn't listen. But we did a lot of like games and like youth group builders and like this whole idea, do a lesson, but all of this extra stuff too. And about halfway through that, in my head, I thought, well, church planning is a lot like youth ministry in regards to really, you have a lot of people coming through that are different. You have people that are inviting people. It's kind of new to them. So we went to a church planning conference, long story short. And their whole thing was preach the gospel, make disciples, send them out. And I was like, okay, well, it can't be that. I mean, like, I get it, but these are kids. And we went back and honestly, we applied that. We thought, okay, let's just cut out all this extra stuff, because one, it's not gaining us anything really, and it's taking up a lot of time. So let's do that. Let's walk them through books of the Bible or portions of the scripture. Let's, have them ask their honest, unfiltered questions, and we'll just approach it with scripture and we'll see what happens. And the youth ministry exploded after that. As far as like kids were bringing their friends, not again for the fun and the games and win this whatever, or even for the food, because we provided food for them too. But it was like, okay, you're going to have your questions answered. And my whole approach after that was like, fine, like the Bible has your answer. We just got to find it. And I like, let's look for it. Like it's there. Let's just look. And so that was the goal. About halfway through that ministry was like, let's cut out all this other stuff. And I know that's not going to work for everybody, but it was game changing for us to where we're going to say, hey, how about we do what the early church did and just tell people about Jesus and make disciples of them, and then be like, hey, you're supposed to go out and do the same thing. And we were I can't stress how incredibly blessed we were with as many volunteers as we had. But I think the reason we had those volunteers is because they saw that these kids' lives were being, again, slowly changed. There was something different that was happening. They were interested in church. And sometimes some of these questions that we had the answers to, they didn't like the answers. So we got to actually engage in some apologetics with them and actually be like, I mean, to the rubber meets the road part, where it's like, you don't have to agree, but this is what it says. And then encourage them to go do their own research. And I mean, my youth group experience was not like that. A lot of people I talked to, their youth group experience wasn't like that either. So I don't think I'd change anything. I mean, obviously with time comes wisdom, so I might like implement things a little bit slower, or maybe, you know, be a little bit more purposeful in like training our volunteers a little bit more thoroughly than we did, because it grew so fast. We were like, we just need people, somebody please. And I mean, not that we had, you know, ungodly people in there, because I'm very picky about that, but it was like we didn't have a lot of chances to train them. So that would be the one thing I'd change. But I don't know if I'd switch it up a lot, because that was a real life-changing moment for me ministry-wise, was for somebody at this church planning conference to be like, these are the 3 things. Don't worry about the numbers. Don't do all the gimmicks. Tell them about Jesus. And that's all you need to do. And if you're outside of that, you're doing something wrong. And I thought that's the wake-up call I needed, to be like, I know I've been taught all this other stuff. Every other youth ministry in town is doing this. And it's not that they weren't preaching the gospel, but this is what we're going to focus on. And that's what we're going to be known for. And if they come, they come. And if they don't, they don't. But if we're going to do something, I want us to be known for talking about Jesus and having that open ability to have conversation. Like, you don't have to agree with what we say, but at least come and ask the questions and let's walk through the scripture with it, which ironically or unironically is kind of the approach we take to the page too.
So what you're saying is Jesus wasn't holding strings with donuts attached to them and having kids do an eating contest or crab walking and kicking soccer balls across an auditorium. Is that not how he taught the kids?
We don't have that written. I mean, they may have, maybe that's a lost manuscript somewhere that we just don't have anymore. Like, early church fathers were like, we're not going to put that in.
Jesus wasn't taking a McFlurry, McDouble, and an apple pie and blending it up and having kids drink it.
There was no Chubby Bunny. You ever played Chubby Bunny where you had to show? Yeah, there was not. I'm unaware of any early church fathers being like, and then they did play the chubbiest bunny.
They just shoved all the manna in their mouth at once instead of marshmallows. Yeah, I love that you were trading out foam noodles for the sword. Of scripture and like actually equipping them to be able to go into battle, because going from high school to college, that is the time where I feel like, for me personally, I had to defend my faith more than any other time.
Hey y'all, we hope you loved this conversation. Here at Young Married Christian, we are on a mission to see a gospel-centered home made available for every single child in the foster care system. There are 400,000 kids in the foster care system, and there are 400,000 churches in America. Wow. That is crazy. This is absolutely a solvable problem, and we want to be a part of it. If you want to join us in that mission, text the word freedom to 833-370-1610.
833-370-1610. 833-370-1610.
I just did it.
And another thing you can do that is really helpful is to smash the like button on this video.
Smash it like Satan's face. Crush it like it's Lucifer's head.
It really helps us a ton, so smash that like button, subscribe to this channel.
That's it.
Smash the like button on this video.